What actually happens when a network cares more about ratings than the truth? In the case of CNN, owned by parent company Warner Media, it seems that CNN has resorted to other means in order to keep you watching. What you're about to see is so shocking. Admissions about COVID, its impact, the bias, and things that we've all suspected but have never been able to confirm until now.
It's fear. Like, fear really drives numbers. It does, you know? The happiest days in news, people, I would imagine, turn it off and then when they go with the family, they don't stay glued to it. You know? Unless there's something that's uniting them, like the moon landing or something like that. Fear is the thing that keeps you tuned in, I imagine. What's the scariest thing there? You know, sad news doesn't do well with ratings. You know, like if you can get someone impassioned, that does really well with ratings. Sad news back to back to back doesn't do really well unless it affects them directly. COVID, gangbusters with ratings, right? Which is why we constantly have the death toll on the side, which I have a major problem with, that we're tallying how many people die every day. Because I've even looked at it and be like, let's make it higher. Like, why isn't it high enough, you know, today? Like, it would make our point better if it was higher. And I'm like, what am I rallying for? That's a problem.
Yeah.
We're doing that, you know? Like,
well, I mean, it helps with ratings.
Of course, yeah, but yeah, I would expect. I have a job. Sure, like, I'm happy about that, but yeah, I don't know.
Who gets to like decide how long that stays on, or like
head of the network? I've been in the room many a times where my director tells me take it down, and I take it down, and then we get a phone call, like the bat phone like rings in the back, literally a red phone, like this special red phone rings.
Yeah.
And they pick it up, and this producer picks it up, and you're mop, 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 mop. And every so often they put it on speaker, and it's like the head of the network being like, there's nothing that you're doing right now that makes me want to stick. Put the numbers back up, because that's the most enticing thing that we have. So put it back up. So like things like that are constantly talked about.
It's most likely a Jeff Zucker call. If Jeff Zucker, the head of our CNN, he makes the calls. Is that like the head of the network with the red bat phone? Yeah.
But why don't you guys at CNN show the recovery rates on the death tolls at least?
The recovery rates. Who's had it and then recovered. Because that's not scary. I would imagine that's why they don't do it. Yeah.
That's what I figured.
If it bleeds, it leads. Yeah.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Yep.
I like that.
I think no one ever says those things out loud, but it's obvious based on like the amount of stories that we do. Like the fact that we have a segment called The Good Stuff, which is a feel-good thing, but it's a dedicated moment at the end to like almost like be the ice cream to alleviate, you know, like everything that you've been through, like, you know, like something sweet to end it with. Because everything else is like doom and gloom. I mean, it's human nature. I mean, like I find myself watching more news when there's something looming and scary. I mean, there's no such thing as unbiased news. It just doesn't exist. There's too many agendas. There's too many people that have jobs that need to feed their families for it to be unbiased. You can't. It's impossible. Of course, the most unbiased news is grassroots, out of people's basements with podcasts. That's the most unbiased you can probably get. You know. And unfortunately, the trend is that when they could actually start making money off of it, you start to inherently destroy the thing that you love, you know, by like
Do you
moving
think
up.
CNN's done that?
Yeah. I don't think CNN's any different than Fox. I think it's on the different side of it, but I think they come off as very altruistic, but I think we buried the lead a lot. I think we...
What's that mean?
You ever watch... We have to sit down and watch it together for me to point out some things. Listen to the way they ask questions. Because they're not actually asking questions.
Who?
Any reporter on CNN.
Okay.
What they're actually doing is they're telling the person what to say. It's an art form in it.
What's it?
There's an art form to it. But it would be like the accident that you just saw, right? Like one of the reporters would be like, so that, that man clearly went through the intersection, slamming into this car or whatever it was, and it really is unfortunate that our infrastructure of traffic lights and whatnot is falling apart in the city. How do you feel about the traffic lights and the infrastructure and whatnot? We've led them to talk about how we want them to talk about it. It's always like leading them in a direction before they even open their mouth. And the only people that we let on the air, for the most part, are people that have a proven track record of taking the bait. I think that there's an art to manipulation. I think some people have figured it out inherently, but
With the media or just in
media
general?
and in just conversations.
Yeah.
I think when you ever meet somebody that you feel like you're being gaslit by, start to listen to how they word things.
What do you mean?
Inflection, saying things twice. There's little subtleties to how to manipulate people.
What's the difference between doing that on a one-on-one basis or a widespread news organization?
Oh yeah, I mean it's enough to change the world. Yeah.
Isn't that the plan?
There's a plan. I think this time it worked with the Trump thing, but look at the other side, how devastated they were. So were we the good guys or the bad guys? Depends on which side you were looking at it, though.